Sigeleli Afrika, malupawanisu pondolayo, Kiswahili tanazo yetu, Kosi sigelela China, lusapolwayo, Lurena buluka sichama sa Yesu, Usibuluke, sichabasa, Yesu, sichabasa, South Africa, South Africa.
Colleagues, allow me to welcome you to our symposium, the Pan-African City, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. My name is Professor Lavmoch Pungu, and I'll be chairing this opening plenary session. In my responsibilities, I'll be working with Samuel, whom I believe you all know. He has been working tirelessly to make this symposium a reality. As a way of background, I'm an academic in the School of the Built Environment here at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Throughout my career path, as a practitioner, as a researcher, and academic, the city has been the mainstay of my focus. My observation arising out of my work over the years is that the African city is at crossroads. On one hand, it is abound with resources, some of which are yet to be exploited. On the other hand, it is a distressed city arising out of multiple social, economic, and environmental challenges. I'm therefore excited to welcome you on this platform. For the coming 3 days, we will be deliberating on these issues which are bedeviling our cities in a bid to find long-lasting and sustainable solutions. Allow me at this juncture to pay homage to the Search Chair for Inclusive Cities, Professor Hangwelani Hope Magidimsha Chipungu, whose passion for the cities has made their work tirelessly in putting up this symposium. Indeed, you agree with me that it is through her passion that she worked with her team and made sure that this conference takes off today. Prof won't be joining us today, unfortunately. She is yet on another journey in her search for cities solutions in Poland, where she is attending the World Urban Forum. Colleagues, you agree with me that our event is bound by time. At this juncture, allow me to introduce Prof. Ernest Halema, who is the Dean of the School of the Built Environment and Development Studies. Indeed, we cannot proceed with the event without the blessings of the head of the school, and of course, the blessings of the university at large. I hope Prof. Halema is here, and the stage is yours, Prof. Prof? Prof, we can't hear you.
Colleagues, and good morning.
Hello, Prof.
Worldwide. My name is Ernest Halema. I'm the Dean and Head of
Prof. Halema, your bandwidth is low. We can't hear you. Maybe switch off your video, Prof. Okay, let's start again.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you are cutting off. Just continue. I'll let you know.
Good morning. Good morning, all.
Please continue, Prof.
Good morning, all. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, colleagues. Can you hear me?
Prof, we can't hear you clearly. You are cutting.
Good morning all. Welcome to the universe worldwide. It is indeed a great pleasure for us to welcome you to this symposium. The African.
Prof, we can't hear you clearly, please.
Can you hear me now?
No, Prof. I think we have a connection problem there. Can I propose that, I don't know, if Prof. Morojeri is around, we proceed to him, then he can come on board later. Prof?
Good morning, colleagues. Can you hear?
Prof, can I suggest that we proceed to Prof. Morojeri, and you can join us later after him? Can you hear me, Prof? Okay. Is Prof. Morojeri around? Prof. Morojeri, I think I have to bring you on board since Prof. Halema is having some connection problems. I think I will give you this opportunity to speak on behalf of the university. Thank you.
Please go ahead, Professor Chipung.
Thank you, Prof. I will talk to Prof. Morojeri to take over. Prof.
Okay.
Morojeri, can you go ahead?
Master of Ceremony, Professor Chipungu, colleagues, the participants to this conference, I wish to welcome you with my open hands to this very momentous symposium. The symposium that is foregrounding a very key and topical issue, the issue of the Pan-African city. The Pan-African city, which is the central space that most African people dwell and stay in. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University of KwaZulu-Natal and the University of Natal in general, I wish to welcome you, and I wish to emphasize the centrality of the topic of this symposium, that it is indeed dealing with matters that are at the heart of the African people. It is dealing with matters that are at the heart of issues of resources, issues of access, issues of inclusion, and issues of justice. So I'm very honored this morning to be able to welcome you colleagues to the symposium. And in particular, Master of Ceremony, I wish to recognize you who is officiating over this opening session, and go to our very key person in this endeavor, our chair or SACHI chair, Professor Magiti Misha. I understand she's not with us this morning, on the same mission of trying to advance and gather as much knowledge and insights as possible in the direction of the objectives of this symposium. I'm very much thankful for the efforts that she has put in place to ensure that the symposium comes in as expected. I would also want to thank the Dean and Head of School, Professor Halema, who is also a key member who have actually worked with other colleagues in a collaborative manner to ensure the success of this symposium. Master of Ceremony, I must comment on how I have actually looked at the program and appreciated the quality of the presentations that are about to take place. And looking at the quality of these debates, it leaves me with no doubt in my mind that the 2 days that we are going to be going through are going to be actually engaging and delving deeper into matters of the Pan-African city from yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I must welcome also the participants. Master of Ceremony, I've seen the quality and the diversities of individuals that are included in this program, notably some of them being our students who are our future, and the level of engagement at this level, it is also a great investment for the future. So I thank the organizers of this symposium to have actually taken into account the centrality of ensuring that the students are part and parcel of these debates as an investment for us to ensure that these kinds of debates are going to be seen the light of future. I'm also thanking the colleagues at UKZN and in particular from the College of Humanities, the School of Built Environment and Development Studies. I know that it is your pride, it is your honor that the very, very, very serious efforts that you've taken have culminated in this symposium, which I know that it is not just a dream come true, but it is also a basis for more knowledge, for more research directions, and for more collaborative engagements that are likely going to spin and that are likely going to come out of there, of these engagements, which is also part of our objectives. I would also want to recognize the colleagues who are the participants, the African colleagues. Those are in Africa, both as in their home cities and also as in Africa as the diaspora. Colleagues, we know that as the Africans, we are here placed in a continent that is full of minerals, that is full of resources, but we also appreciate that the majority of these resources are not in the hands of the majority of the people whom they belong to. And we know that when we are engaging in an intellectual debate of this nature about the African city, we are also talking about the issues that have to do with issues of justice, issues of inclusivity, issues of access to resources, the equitability of such, and so on and so forth. So I know that as brothers in Africa, we share deeply in this kind of consciousness. And I'm very happy to see your participation and the kind of contributions you are going to make to the symposium. I also note the involvement of the diaspora, our colleagues in the other side of the Atlantic. Colleagues, we know that even if you look so far, but you are close to us as the African brothers, whom I know that despite the diversities of our locations, but as the African people in this continent, we share almost similar issues in a manner that I know that the cross-sharing of the experiences of us here as brothers in Africa, brothers and sisters in Africa, and brothers and sisters on the other side of the Atlantic, I know that the issues that we have here in Africa are similar to the issues that we have on that side, and hence the value of this conference, where we are going to be sharing experiences and knowledge insights that span across a multiplicity of countries by brothers and sisters who share common interest in those key issues. So, Master of Ceremony, I'm very, very pleased to actually know the quality and the caliber of the members of this. And I thought, as a beginning and a welcome, I should note the quality of the people that we have brought to the conference and how the level of the debates that we are going to have are likely going to enhance our understanding of the problematic of the African city. Coming to the point of the substance of the conference itself, I must say the question of the African city colleagues, it is a thorny issue, and we know that it touches a number of aspects. But in my naive consciousness of this understanding, I know that we are talking about African cities that we can live comfortably with, that we can live with without fear of endangering our lives, without having to be relegated against for any reason. So when I hear a conference, a master of ceremony speaking about livable or the Pan-African cities, I'm talking about or imagining how you are talking about how we can create livable cities of the future based on learning from the history that we come from as an African continent and learning from the present of today, and also imagining what kind of African cities that we can create. So this issue is very, very fundamental to the betterment of future communities. And I am very much impressed to actually see how this conference has been organized to ensure that it addresses these key issues. And I must also speak about the centrality, colleagues, of how the good investments that we are having now, such as this conference, how it is essential also to conceptualize them along the lines of the politics of sustainability. This is a good conference. I know that a lot of collaboration has happened between the colleagues here at UKZN, in Africa and across the Atlantic. What is going to be remaining after this conference has passed is the issue of sustainability. Is this going to be sustainable? After we have engaged in these 2 days, what is going to be happening? Where are we going to be taking this to? So the little message I have, colleagues, with the short time that I have, I'm aware my time is already elapsed, is let us also engage about the key issues that we are dealing with in these 2 days, and also think about how best can we ensure that the debates are made sustainable, they are made to infiltrate the future generations, so that the efforts that we are doing now are founding or making a basis for the future generations to benefit. So with these few words, colleagues, I wish to thank you very warmly to the symposium, and I'm hoping that the richness of the debates that we are going to have here are not only going to open our eyes into the possibilities of making the best African cities, but it is also going to be a basis for a more collaborative and enhanced engagement across the faculty. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You are most welcome. You are most welcome. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Morojeri, for those wise words. Believe me, you have given us more blessings, because we were expecting the Vice Chancellor to be here and also the Dean to be here, but because of a number of challenges, you stepped in at the right moment. So I believe we have blessings both from the school and from the university. Thank you for those wise words. You have set the stage for the symposium. And when I was listening to you, I thought, okay, it seems you're already into the symposium here, discussing real key issues. And indeed, those are the key issues which we'll be deliberating on in the coming 3 days. Thank you very much, Prof. Morojeri. Colleagues, allow me to bring to this stage one of our colleagues, our partners, who was part and parcel of this journey when we were planning for this symposium. Ms. Elizabeth Glenn is one of the instrumental figures whom we have been working with, starting from the formative stages of this symposium. I'm talking about a woman who is enthusiastic, a woman who have got a lot of charisma, and a woman who have got a lot of energy. And it is because of her contribution which significantly led to the success of this symposium. Her endless meetings, as far as planning were concerned, and the sessions she was chairing brought us to where we are today. I'm happy today to be enjoying the fruits of her leadership for this symposium. Ms. Elizabeth Glenn is the chair of the International US-Africa Collaborative, which includes USA, United Kingdom, and South Africa. She is one of the board members of NARO, which is a national association of housing and redevelopment officials. She is also the current president of the board of directors of the Bethel Empowerment Center in Baltimore City, in America. In her career, she has received several honors, among which are a Woman Trailblazer in Business and Leadership Award from MARA. Ms. Glenn is also a top 100 women in the state of Maryland in America. It would take me the whole day to go through her CV, but allow me to say that with those short highlights, it suffices to show how much she has with her. Colleagues, welcome Ms. Elizabeth Glenn.
Sorry, we can't hear.
Colleagues, I think while we are waiting for Elizabeth Glenn to come on board, I will go ahead with the program and bring on board some of our colleagues and institutions which worked with us throughout this journey. You have to remember that for us to be able to mount this symposium, we were working throughout with various institutions. Let me call upon the University of Nelson Mandela, which is being represented by Professor Mbanga. Prof, the stage is yours. Hello, Prof. Okay. Apologies, colleagues. Prof. Mbanga, I think he's in the same boat with Elizabeth Glenn. They are still working on the connections, but I think we can still move on to the University of Maryland and bring on board Dr. Mary Kay Day, who is also one of our partners who helped us to come up with this particular symposium. Dr. Mary Kay Day, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much. You can go ahead. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Maria Day Marshall, and I'm director of the Colvin Institute of Real Estate Development in the School of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation at the University of Maryland. Dr. Dawn Jordan, Dean of the School of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation, had an unexpected emergency and cannot be with us today. However, she wanted me to express her sincere apologies and bring you greetings from the University of Maryland. We want to congratulate the symposium organizers on planning and putting together a fantastic program. We at the University of Maryland are proud to collaborate with our partners to co-host this event. I remember in 2019 when we first talked about a Pan-African Symposium that would center on affordable housing in the cities of Africa. It is the fulfillment of a dream that has come to fruition. I believe that academia plays a vital role in community and economic development, and we strive to be a key stakeholder in that process in our communities, both locally and internationally. Our involvement in this symposium is consistent with the goals of both the strategic plans of the university and the School of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation at the University of Maryland. The mission of the school is to advance excellence in education, scholarship, and professional practice towards just and resilient communities. We promote social justice, cultural diversity, resource conservation, and economic opportunity through excellence in architectural design, urban planning, historic preservation, and real estate development. One of our 4 strategic commitments and principles is to engage communities across the region and internationally in crafting environments for all. And one of our 4 strategic initiatives is to create diverse and inclusive built environment discourse in action. All of this is in line with the university's strategic plan. Recently, more than 1,000 members of the University of Maryland's campus community worked together to create an ambitious vision for the future of the university. Fearless forward, in pursuit of excellence and impact for the public good, the University of Maryland's strategic plan presents a bold reimagining of what the university must be to uphold and expand its mission of service to humanity. The plan is rooted in the principles of values-driven excellence, diversity, equity, and inclusion, impact, innovation, collaboration, and service to humanity. It is a living document that lays the foundation for innovative new initiatives balanced with careful attention to providing value to our local community, state, nation, and the world. The plan will evolve as we do. Our guiding principles are helping us to empower the next generation of leaders, artists, writers, educators, scientists, and global citizens to develop creative solutions to the grand challenges of our times. It is an honor for the University of Maryland to participate in and serve as a conference partner for this incredible gathering of practitioners, academics, government representatives, and students to tackle, as our president, Darryl Pines, would say, the grand challenges of the world. We look forward to a successful symposium. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for those kind words. I believe that your support will not end today. We are together in this journey tomorrow until we're able to achieve what we need to achieve in this symposium. So your endeavors and commitment at this stage show us that you'll always be there for future developments. Thank you very much. At this point, let me go back to Prof. Mbanga, representing the Nelson Mandela University. Prof, are you ready?
Hello. Good morning.
Please continue, we can hear you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Professor Chikongu. Good morning also to the delegates to the conference, those who are connecting virtually and those who are with us in the Harvard College in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and also greetings to the partners of the conference, Ms. Elizabeth Glenn, and also our colleagues from the US, and also the university, the Secretary for Inclusive Cities in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and also friendly greetings to the university management itself, which is hosting us in this inaugural Pan-African Symposium within the US-Africa Collaborative. I am just rising to send the greetings of Mandela University in South Africa in this inaugural occasion, the Pan-African Symposium. As already alluded to by the program director, which was thought of some 2 to 3 years back with a lot of work by participating universities in South Africa and also in the US and Africa, and also housing authorities in both continents which are involved in this program. Mandela University, I think I'm still the chair for human settlement, and I'm also speaking for the university, which is a dynamic university which is aspiring to offer sustainable solutions to the continents and African diaspora problems, but within an African, a Pan-African context. As a university, we're in concurrence with the need to reimagine the African city and the African diaspora itself in our search for better solutions for a better world and a better Africa in South Africa. We believe that we require indeed a safe and just, resilient and equitable cities in Africa as a university. And therefore we are definitely cooperating with all the role players in this conference. As a university, we understand the current challenges facing the African city, and it's seeking to better itself and serve its nations. Issues of climate change, issues of poverty. With climate change, that's shown in different forms, droughts, declining droughts in certain parts of the continent and in South Africa. In the Mandela Bay right now is facing a day zero as we open this conference because of the water crisis, which has been due to droughts, which we've seen over the past 7 years, and that there's a need to respond to those issues within the cities. We have also experienced and observed the flooding along the coastline in the Indian Ocean in South Africa. And where we are sitting right now in Durban, I think a program of reconstructing and redeveloping the city of eThekwini is underway as a consequence of drought. These problems are adding upon existing problems, which anyway the African city has been faced with. Issues of grinding poverty, issues of destitution and homelessness. We've been seeing those issues underperforming economies against a backdrop of natural resources that the professor was indicating earlier on. But at the center, at the heart of this, we've been seeing an African city which is evolving with a particular character of continuing with the agenda of coloniality, being exclusive in its form, also in the built form, but also in other forms, in the economic dimension of this city, also environmental, being exclusive rather than inclusive. We've seen that happening against the rhetoric and pronunciation being made about cities having to be sustainable and integrative. At the university, I think, as we send the well wishes to this conference and the engagement that are going to ensue out of this conference from today, we do believe that there are certain things we need to look at as Africans and the African diaspora in particular. The problems we're citing, which this conference will be dealing with, need to address certain issues. We do see the problems, we observe the problems, we do see how the African city has been evolving and its dimensions and its character of seeking to sustain the agenda of colonialism. We've been seeing that happening, but maybe put differently. We've been seeing that agenda going on. We believe that the problems that Africa is facing and the African diaspora can be solved with local solutions. That is our departure as a university. That these problems, as already indicated, are not problems of Africa alone. They are problems of all developing nations in the global south. As I conclude, the point we're making is effective that these problems are universal and they require local solutions. These problems are universal and require local solutions, and that we should be taking that forward. We need to search for such solutions with the communities and all the role players within Africa to these universal problems. The second issue we need to do is to dismantle the colonial architecture of the African city as we seek to resolve these challenges. In dismantling that character, we need also to attend to the issue of the de-intellectualization of the African city and all the role players, be they academia, professionals, governments, politicians, who would want to look for solutions elsewhere and not in Africa and the African diaspora where problems are happening. We need to deal with that because within that agenda, it is why that we are living or continue to live with the same challenges. Colleagues and all the delegates of the conference, Mandela University wishes you all the successful deliberations in this conference as we proceed for the next 3 days. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Prof. Mbanga. Colleagues, I think you have witnessed the passion in that voice of Prof. And indeed, it is a teaser at what is going to come ahead of us. He is just giving an overview of what is happening on the African city. But what is interesting to note is that the perpetuation we are seeing as far as the African city is concerned is something which we need to work on. Prof. Mbanga will be with us throughout the symposium, and indeed, we are going to share more of his views. Thank you very much, Prof, for those wise and encouraging words. Allow me at this stage to move on to the United States, Morgan State University, and call upon Professor Coleman Jordan, who is also supposed to give us some collaborative and encouraging words. Prof, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, I'd like to thank the conference organizers, especially Elizabeth, as far as Elizabeth organizing this event for us. But this whole congregation and this conference is very important. Morgan State University is a historically Black college university system that was founded in 1867. What's important about this is that it's a historically Black college, which I think college, it's a university, Morgan State specifically. But I think what's important about it is that, you know, when we talk about the African city is everywhere. In other words, it's a global context. It's the diaspora, it's the past histories, it's the present, and it's the future as far as where we're going. Now, Morgan State University, their core values, and I'm actually speaking for President David Quavina Wilson, as well as our Dean Akers, Marianne Akers, who will be leaving us actually this year. But that being said, our core values of Morgan State University are areas of leadership, innovation, integrity, diversity, excellence, and respect. That being said, now I am in the School of Architecture and Planning at Morgan State University. I'm one of the professors there. And as far as this conference is concerned, I actually just got back a few days ago from Ghana. So we are actually committed to looking at Pan-Africanism as a part of our agenda and moving forward at the university. One of the issues is that we are historically tied to the concept of understanding what the Blackness as well as Africanness means within this world, and how we begin to move forward in this vision within the context of the built environment. Moving forward with Morgan's vision, Morgan State University is a premier public urban research university in Maryland. It's known for its excellence in teaching, intense research, effective public service, and community engagement. Morgan prepares diverse and competitive graduates for success in a global independent society. I'm going to stress this element of diversity. Now, I taught at what we call here, I would say, mainstream schools in the university in the United States. And I made an intent to come to an HBCU to teach because of my experience at other universities. What I've noticed here at the historically Black colleges, HBCUs, is that they are very diverse and they're actually very open to the difficult conversations that are often difficult to have at other universities in the US, I would argue. And that being said, as we move forward with this conference, I think this actually allows us to open up the conversation even broader as we start to talk about the issues of the African communities, the communities that we live in, both abroad as well as domestically. But then I think one of the other issues that is often not talked about when we talk about housing, although we have dwelling, is the colonial mindsets that we have to get beyond within housing as well. So although we're looking at these elements of housing and dwelling within the urban city, we have to begin to understand the larger picture, I think, of our mental sort of capacities as far as moving into these spaces. So that being said, let's say Morgan is committed to moving forward. And as I said, we just got back from Ghana. I took some students there. And what we were actually doing while we were there is working with the African University College of Communications, who is working on the Pan-African Heritage World Museum. And we are actually having the privilege, we just got the announcement a few days ago that our university is going to be working with the AUCC, the African University College of Communications, to assist them in developing not the museum, but the grounds that they are working on. And the grounds that they're working on is looking at an Afrocentric, I would say, or African-centric design proposals. And so with that, being said, it also just stems to our commitment at Morgan State University to move forward with understanding the Pan-African context globally and what some of the issues are that we're facing. So I'd like to just say thank you for creating this conference. I feel like we're going to have a great conversations moving forward that will open up conversations on many topics in the context of dwelling. But also, I think we will be able to assist each other and move forward. I'm hoping that that's what comes out of this conference, that this is not the end of it, but it's just the beginning. And we have colleagues that we can refer to on a regular basis as we move throughout. So Morgan State would like to say thank you for inviting us, and we appreciate being here, and we look forward to moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Coleman. It is really an honor for us to have you to give us your words of support for this particular conference. I know very well that this is not the end of it. As you have said, you are one of the critical partners, and your presence during this symposium is a pointer to your total commitment and also to the future of our partnerships. Colleagues, I'm looking at the time here and it seems we are lagging behind. Nevertheless, we still have a lot to do. At this moment, I think I have to go back to Elizabeth Glenn. I did introduce her earlier, but given my time, I think I will just call her straight to the podium to take over. It's going to go ahead.
Thank you so very much. I would like to first of all say on behalf of the U.S.-Africa Collaborative, I am honored to welcome you all to the Pan-African Symposium on the Pan-African City. The U.S.-Africa Collaborative grew out of a collective vision generated by a group of remarkable people who share a love of and a commitment to the vitality and sustainability of Pan-African communities throughout the globe. Something like this only comes together through the power of relationships and a compelling desire to build a better future for the Pan-African diaspora. This symposium is the first of what we hope to be a long-term institutional effort to build upon our strengths, leverage our incredible base of knowledge, and to promote transatlantic cooperation to build resilient, sustainable, and vital communities. At the very core of this effort is a love of people and a deliberate and thoughtful approach that empowers communities to self-determine their destinies. I truly am humbled to be among such an incredible and brilliant group of people. I wish to offer my sincere gratitude to the following folks whom without this symposium would not be possible. They bought into a dream, they bought into a vision, and we planted some seeds a few years ago as we embarked upon a journey together. This journey begins with people who have a great love of you, our communities, and the world we want to raise our children into. First, I want to thank the amazing team at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, who have done a remarkable job at pulling this effort together. We're going to have a few bumps along the way, but we know that something like this, an inaugural event, we're also testing systems. And so please bear with us as we work through some of our technical issues, because we are bringing in the global community in a first-time effort that surely will lay the foundation for future efforts. So I want to then say and acknowledge how that University of KwaZulu-Natal accepted the challenge of organizing and hosting this symposium with vigor, enthusiasm, and most of all, love. Given what we've all experienced over the past few years with COVID, we were determined to bring this collective group of people together and to embark upon a strategic vision that will then lay the foundation, as I've said before, for something that's both remarkable, but also sustainable. After this symposium, the work will begin. So, first of all, I want to thank the remarkable and amazing Professor Hope for assembling an amazing team of colleagues who have poured their heart into this program. I want to also thank Professor Chupungu. And I cannot say thank you without saying thank you to my dear brother, Sam. Dr. Sam, or the future Dr. Sam, has been remarkable in all of his attention to detail And without that attention to detail, something like this that's bringing together the global community and patching in so many remarkable people could not have happened. I also want to thank the UKZN management and the School of Built Environment and the vision of Professor Kalema, who robustly accepted the challenge of pulling this into his university and taking it on for the first time. There are many who said that we could not do this. This would be impossible. How could you pull something like this together? But let me tell you, Professor Kalema's team has done so. I want to thank Professor Poku, and of course, we have to thank the wonderful IT team who has been diligent in trying to patch together all of the logins and make sure everybody has the appropriate things that they need, registration links, keeping track of the participants, keeping track of the panelists, and keeping track of the speakers. It has been a labor of love. And truly, without the expertise of the IT team, this virtual symposium would be impossible. I also want to thank my colleagues in the US-Africa Collaborative. And I want to make a special acknowledgement to my brothers who, through their relationships that they developed through the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials, they helped lay the groundwork for such a collaboration. So I want to acknowledge my dear brother, Professor Mbanga from the Nelson Mandela University, and Lawrence Ramashamoli from the East London Housing Association. These two gentlemen diligently, persistently kept pushing to look at what can we do together? How can we build a partnership based on values, ethics, and an absolute love and devotion to the people who make our communities what they are. We talk about the built environment, we talk about places, but without people, these things are meaningless. They are nothing. And one of the things we hope to demonstrate through bringing this collective body together is that we need to build communities around people and not around places. We have to learn a new dynamism in planning and development, and building sustainable and resilient communities. And look at how human settlements we can use and maximize the beauty and the value and the strengths that are present within those communities. I also want to thank our partners from the US. They have been very helpful in supporting me in trying to pull together such an endeavor. I want to thank the Maryland Sister State Program, and the Maryland Office of the Secretary of State, who hosted and welcomed a delegation from South Africa in 2017, which I believe in some ways is the foundation, the impetus of how this all got started. I also want to thank the Maryland, the housing professionals from the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials, who really helped ground me in the importance of connecting through international relationships, the values and principles of sustainable communities. I also have to thank the University of Maryland, who was an extremely important partner when we first brought a reciprocal delegation from the US to South Africa 3 years ago. They were enthusiastically willing to partner with universities here and to take on the charge of looking at how academia can work with housing professionals so that we are not leading from above, but we are building a movement from the ground up that we think will be the appropriate and loving response to building more vibrant communities, particularly where the diaspora exists. And we are all over the world. And as my brother said, we have global and universal challenges, but the truth is that the solution lies in the local level, how we implement universal solutions, custom tailored to the needs of the people, to the desires of the people, to the hopes and dreams of the people. I also want to say thank you to all of the housing professionals and nonprofit organizations, the state and national government officials, and other principal partners who are building the US-Africa Collaborative into an institution that is not just a thought, a whim, but in fact, a foundation upon which we grow a movement that brings the diaspora together. We don't need to rely on other systems for our solutions. We just need to look into our hearts and souls and do what is right. This collaboration has been likened to a garden. We have planted seeds. We are now nurturing them, watering them, giving them the nutrients and the nourishment that they need so that we all will grow together into one beautiful garden, one beautiful, diverse garden from which we will see the fruits born out of our efforts and out of our love. As a gardener, I know that in order to bring growth from the earth, you have to be deliberate. You have to be watchful. In my own garden, I am out there every day examining every plant, every flower. I'm looking at the condition of the soil. I'm looking at the sun and how the sun shines down on my garden. I'm looking at how rain will come and help nurture it and make sure that we have, if in the absence of water, that we look at how we can substitute natural water for the water that we generate. This too is like the world that we live in. We have to look at our systems and we have to pay attention. And if we have to look at each and every single one of us, we will do so. Through the work of the U.S.-Africa Collaborative, this incredible partnership that we've built, this Pan-African Symposium will be the answer to our prayers. It will bring about the solutions that we must look at. It will bring the people together that can grow this garden into a robust field of not only dreams, but also build a foundation for the future that we all can benefit from. Last and certainly not least, I want to thank the students for their participation and for them having a vision to want to build a better place for all of us. I want to thank you all for participating. And for those of you who have registered for the symposium, who will be a part of this amazing event for the next 3 days, I thank you for taking a gamble and a chance on us and spending time with us. Thank you all. And from the bottom of my heart, I say this with all the love in the world. Thank you for embarking upon a journey that we hope will make us all stronger together. Because surely together, we in the diaspora will be able to build a better future, a stronger future, a brighter future, and look at Mother Africa as the source of solutions and not a source of stress. Thank you so very much. I look forward to the next few days.
Thank you very much, Ms. Glenn. You agree with me that without you, this journey wasn't going to be complete. Colleagues, you agree with me that there is no home which doesn't require the affection of a mother. And in this particular journey, in this symposium, we had our mother. And Miss Glenn actually symbolizes that person. She was with us from the beginning, and she was there throughout the preparation of the symposium. And today, here she is, still charming us all the way. I'm very happy that she did. I'm very happy that she managed to go out to spread her love to all those people who participated and try to make sure that this symposium is a reality. And indeed, that's the affection of a mother who goes out to embrace everyone whenever there is an event, whenever there's an occasion. And this occasion does symbolize you, Ms. Glenn, as our mother in this collaboration. Thank you very much for those messages of support you have given us. Colleagues, we are racing behind time. And I think at this stage, we need to move on ahead and introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Louis Barunda. He is the Deputy Secretary of State, Maryland, and he has an illustrious political career, which you have seen him serving in various committees and commissions in Maryland. He served as the President's Advisory Board in 2010. He was also the Governor of the Sub-Cabinet on International Affairs. He was also on the Commission of the Voters Integrate. Mr. Barunda is a co-founder of many business organizations. He is the chairman of the Maryland Hispanic Business Conference. He is the founding president of the Baltimore Chamber of Commerce and is also the co-founder of Maryland Hispanic Business Legislative Reception. He has got a long, impressive CV, which I'll invite you to look at online. At this juncture, allow me to invite him so that we can share with his vision. Ms. Burundi, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate that kind introduction. And I hesitate on even being called a keynote speaker after listening to Liz Glenn, who you very affectionately called our mother of this particular conference. And so I am proud to have been a part of that initial meeting back in 2017. And I've been grateful to have been asked to be a part of meetings all along the way and be of whatever encouragement I can be in my role as the Deputy Secretary of State here in Maryland. And so very quickly, I wanted to give you a brief overview of our role here at the Office of the Secretary of State. We are responsible for Maryland's formal international relationships, one of which is KwaZulu-Natal, and we're very, very proud to have that relationship, which is decades old now. And it's led very capably by Dr. Phyllis, and we're very, very encouraged. I think that she's Phyllis Bailey is on our call today in our conference. And so I just wanted to thank her for her tremendous leadership in leading the Maryland KwaZulu-Natal Sister State Committee. I did experience some technical difficulties this morning myself. Our internet here at the office was not functioning well, so I am coming to you via my cell phone. So I hope that you can hear me well and I'm not breaking up too bad. And I'm also looking at my speech, which I had to kind of rig up again because of our internet not working. But I did want to bring greetings from Governor Larry Hogan and Secretary of State John Wobensmith, both of whom are coming back from Europe today. They were traveling in France and in Ireland. And so we bring you greetings from the great state of Maryland. And again, before I offer my remarks, I wanted to thank Liz Scott and the entire U.S. Africa Collaborative for putting together this inaugural Pan-African Symposium. As more Marylanders face housing instability as a result of COVID-19, the need for an affordable state here in Maryland is even more pressing. Addressing housing needs requires leadership at all levels of governance, local, state, and federal, along with continued engagement of the private and philanthropic sectors. In the state of Maryland, the Department of Housing and Community Development commissioned a plan called the Maryland Housing Needs Assessment. This housing needs assessment began in 2019 and is a 10-year strategic plan which charts the course for Maryland to become a more affordable place to live by 2030. The Maryland Housing Needs Assessment vision states that for 2030 or by 2030, stakeholders would like Maryland to be a more affordable, equitable place to live. To them, housing affordability means supporting both renters and homeowners through direct assistance, financing more rental properties and for sale homes, and promoting policies to help encourage a wider range of homes throughout the state. It also means helping the most vulnerable residents of Maryland who need more flexible requirements to rent homes and higher quality accessible units available at lower cost to maintain a stable home. There are 5 guiding principles for this assessment. The first is to promote equity in housing. Maryland's housing market must be affordable to serve its residents equally. When it doesn't meet those standards, the result is disinvestment in communities and concentrations of poverty. Second, we want to create a balanced housing supply. Housing investments over the next 10 years should balance the need for new or stabilized homes with projected household growth. Third, we want to increase access to opportunity. A stable home in a strong community unlocks opportunity. Stakeholders see a need to closely connect housing investments to high quality schools, job centers, and public transportation and other services to ensure that every Marylander can reach their full potential. Next, we want to support economic growth. Many communities in Maryland need more homes to retain and attract a local workforce for employers, and many local businesses and residents can directly benefit from investment in the creation of new homes and improvements to existing ones. Then we want to create a context-specific approach. A one-size-fits-all approach will not effectively address these needs, and many state-level programs designed to serve homeowners and renters are not tailored to varying cultural and geographic contexts, capacity, and resources in different parts of the state. Our priority needs across the state of Maryland identified 2 key needs. First, we need homes for low-income households. These households will represent more than half of all new households in Maryland by 2030. In addition to housing affordability, there is a need to align with household characteristics, including more families with children, more people living alone, and more racially and ethnically diverse households. Second, the second need that was identified is constructing affordable and market rate housing. Home builders in Maryland face several challenges: higher construction materials and labor costs, costs associated with providing or connecting to infrastructure, strict local and state level regulatory requirements, limited land use standards for higher density development, and lack of local political support for new development. These challenges create uncertainty and drive up the costs to build affordable and market rate homes, with builders passing along these higher costs to Marylanders seeking to rent or buy a home in our state. In addition, there are 2 specific priority income groups: the households at 30% of what's called the area median income, or AMI, and households at the 60% area median income. These were identified at the start of the Maryland Housing Needs Assessment as the 2 priority populations. There is also a priority need to focus on persons with disabilities and persons experiencing homelessness over the next 10 years. The key needs among the low-income households that represent 13% of Maryland households, or 269,000, roughly 270,000 total households. Individuals at this income level may be employed in occupations such as food workers or cashiers, child care providers, home health care providers, or farm workers. There's a shortage of affordable and available units. Statewide, there are 33 units available for this income group for every 100 households. There's also a risk of losing existing subsidized units. Subsidized properties with experiencing affordable restrictions, aging infrastructure, and poor property conditions could be lost from the housing stock without intervention, which would further exacerbate the shortage of affordable and available units for extremely low income households. Extremely low income households are concentrated in 4 main population centers here in the state of Maryland. In these 4 population centers, there are 66% of the state's extremely low income households, which again underscores the limited housing options that households in this income level will face. There's also increased competition for homes. Between 2020 and 2030, Maryland will add nearly 100,000 new households earning less than these households will face, and they will face increased competition for a smaller number of affordable homes and high rates of cost burdens if affordable units are not available. There's also a severe and increased cost burden for these extremely low income households. These low income households, which often intersect with vulnerable groups such as seniors and persons living with disabilities, experience higher rates of severe cost burden than other income groups. And again, this is in part driven by the overall lack of affordable housing. I'm going to end my remarks there. I just wanted to primarily give those of you attending this symposium an overall view of what Maryland's priorities are in our housing for low-income groups, and what we're doing in order to address these particular issues. But I think what's more important is that this particular symposium is focusing on an area that goes well beyond our particular state here in the US, Maryland. You're looking at areas that affect housing across the entire continent. And like you will face many of these challenges that we are facing here. And working together, I know that you will provide many of the solutions to these challenges. So once again, we thank you for an opportunity just to share a bird's eye view of our housing situation in the state of Maryland. And I appreciate having been invited to be a small part of your conference. Best of luck and best wishes to this wonderful symposium. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barunda. I think that sets the tone actually for this particular conference. I did indicate at the beginning of this conference that the Pan-African city is a city which has got a lot of problems. And indeed, you've touched on one of the key issues, that which deals with housing. I think among other factors, you all agree with me that housing is at the center of the key issues we need to deliberate about in this symposium. And indeed, there is no way we can deal with this issue without touching on critical factors that affect people in the low income bracket, that affect people in the medium income bracket. And colleagues, at this juncture, I'd like to call upon you, if you've got any questions, contributions, which we can get so that we can actually talk to Mr. Burundi and offer some insight into some of the challenges we are facing. Do we have any questions, comments?
If I may, I will send the link to this particular study. It might be of value to the symposium, but I will send the link to the organizing committee for distribution.
That would be very good, Mr. Barunda, because I would like to believe that we want to tap into those ideas as we go along during the conference. But I would like to believe that there are colleagues with questions who still want some clarifications here and there. Do we have any questions, comments? Sam?
We have a raised hand, Lawrence. I'm unmuted you. You can ask your question. Lawrence?
Lawrence, can you go ahead? Okay. I'm sure we're not getting any response from Lawrence there. Sam, do you have anything?
No, there are no questions from my side.
So, let me start this discussion by looking at the key issues which Dr. Barunda actually highlighted. It's quite interesting that when you look at the issue of housing, certain critical issues come to the fore. He talked about leadership, of governance. He talked about housing being at the center stage of cities. He talked about stakeholders who participate in the production of housing. Now, what is quite interesting in this presentation is that we have people in the low income bracket who, it seems, are the ones who are always facing these major challenges. And the holistic vision which is being put in place here is to make sure that housing which is supposed to be provided is supposed to be affordable, is supposed to be equitable, is supposed to be a platform to eliminate poverty, is supposed to target the vulnerable, and also is supposed to be a center to try to provide opportunities to everyone. And these are the challenges which you always struggle with people in the low income bracket when it comes to housing. But there is one interesting factor which I want to share with you, which Mr. Burundi talked about, the issue of land. And indeed, Prof. Mbanga did highlight about the issue of land, especially among the low-income people, when he talked about it from a backdrop of floods in KZN. And we find that the people who were critically affected by floods are those in the low-income bracket. And they are the ones who are actually reeling as far as the issue of land is concerned. Mr. Burundi, I just want to find out from your own perspective, how acute is this issue of land, especially for the people in the low income bracket?
It's very acute and I will also yield to any of my colleagues from the state of Maryland who have more expertise in this area of housing. I don't claim to be an expert by any means, but this area is acute, especially when we consider that there are 4 centers of population that contain 66% of our very low income population. So the competition for housing is very, very acute. And these areas where that contain such a large proportion of our low income populations in many cases have very strong and strict regulatory issues when it comes to housing. They don't want to build any more housing in many of these areas for some very good reasons. They want to maintain the rural character of their counties or their jurisdictions. They want to make sure that we have an adequate supply of land for agriculture. Agriculture is one of Maryland's, actually it's Maryland's largest source of income. And so these are just some of the issues that face our poor and very low income populations. There might be other viewpoints and perspectives that my colleagues from Maryland might have.
Thank you for that response. Colleagues, let me, unless if there's someone who wants to add or come on board, allow me to just throw this question once more, not only to Mr. Barunda, but also to colleagues who are with us today. Now, what is also quite intriguing is that it's always the case that people in the low income bracket are the ones who bear the worst brunt when it comes to housing. And theoretically, we know that even if we put together all housing production systems, there will always be that 20% of the people in the low income bracket who will never get what we are putting across. Now, if the challenge to provide affordable housing will always be there, and if we are going to wait from the state to get affordable housing, that will always be a problem. Are there any innovative approaches which we can think of? Approaches which can bring on board opportunities, approaches which can bring on board the community, approaches which can bring on board various stakeholders to make housing a reality for people in the low income bracket, and to make sure that that 20% you're talking about does have access to housing.
If I may offer just a few potential solutions.
Yes.
We need to offer operating subsidies for affordable housing developments. We can also expand use of project-based vouchers, which the definition of might differ on the continent than it does here in the US. And there might be one of my colleagues that understands project-based vouchers a little bit better than I do. But we can also create housing trust funds. We can create housing preservation funds. We could establish dedicated revenue sources for affordable housing. We can develop cross-sector partnerships to provide integrated services, including health, employment, and education. We can increase tenant protections and access to information, legal services, mediation, or other supports. We could extend affordability periods associated with development subsidies. And finally, perhaps expand emergency rental assistance programs.
Thank you very much for that response. And I would like to believe these are some of the ideas we need to carry forward and deliberate on as we talk about housing. Prof. Mbanga, I'll put you on the spotlight here to come on board, especially when we look at some of these collaborative efforts, which we have, these partnerships, which intend to build, decent housing for people in the low income bracket. What can we learn from what Mr. Barunda is telling us today as far as housing is concerned?
Thank you, Professor Tsupungu, and thank you, Mr. Barun, for those insightful propositions around how in the US housing is responded to. I think should be one is beginning to pick up. I think on the input is that we don't have a one size fits all. The housing need is diverse. It is diverse. Affordability is not a single straight. Whilst it might mean the same thing, that it talks to issues of access, but the response from government policy should be appreciative of the fact that at household level, at community level, there are various housing needs. So the response cannot be about a single solution, but a solution that is trying to respond to diverse and not disaggregate needs at the household level, which means that the housing solution would require to be a package of solutions. That might also mean an issue regarding addressing homelessness may not be in a particular household, an issue of ownership at a particular time in the life cycle of household. It might also mean that at that level, the household is seeking shelter, perhaps as in rental housing stock. There are different means, I think, that is coming up. But something also which is coming up on the input is the fact that in the provision of shelter, I think as a government and other agencies response, in particular when it comes to low-income households, it's not only about a structure, a top structure, as in shelter. Of course, that is critically important in terms of protecting family or a household from external shocks and such. But it goes with other basic services that should go in that. That's the second thing one would pick up on this input. But I think here is an important issue around sustainability, which I'm liking in the fact that it raises issues of the economy and the livelihoods at a household and community level. Something that we might have to think of in relation to the provision of housing and basic services, in particular as government and agencies, that what we're doing in fact, we are responding in a situation of a particular household which is unable to respond to these basic needs as provided in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It is therefore an intervention in the creation of human being and in nature, an individual or a family should be able to provide for his or her services. Means in an equal society and equal world, these are short-term interventions that governments would want to do. I'm raising this, Professor Chifungo, because if our inclination or our departure is about understanding our role, the issue of roles within state and power, if our understanding is that these are purely interventions, you create a ministry of housing to intervene in the situation of vulnerable communities. Notice that you are replacing the role of a community to drive its own development. Therefore, an intervention in housing should not be about a perpetual dependence. You create a model that will ensure that individuals and families shall depend throughout their lifetime on interventions coming from different directions. But you frame your intervention in a manner that allows empowerment of communities and households to provide for themselves into the future. The issue then lies, as I conclude, it is in the design of that intervention when marginalization of communities and households takes place, where we seek to impose models of housing that will repel all other things that communities have been doing to provide for their own needs without governmental support. So you dislodge the community. You don't want to embrace the local knowledges. You dislodge even the skills. You bring in a level of skills that they won't be able to reach. So you dislodge their ability to absorb even the funding that you invest in that community through infrastructure, because they have pushed out any other knowledges that exist in that community. We shall have to look into that as we move forward. The model has to be shaped such that it embraces local knowledges and local capabilities in our shaping of the model. We don't create perpetual dependence on external interventions in both families. I believe the students and the young people will help us in that direction. Thank you, Professor Chifungo.
Thank you very much, Prof. Mbanga, for that enlightenment. Indeed, the issue of diversity in housing is very important, and we need to embrace that. And in the process of trying to get a lasting solution to housing, we have to look at issues which revolve around empowerment, issues which revolve around taking into account indigenous knowledge, issues which take into account co-production of space. And in that particular process, I believe we can navigate key issues and eventually get the solution. Before I go back to Mr. Borunda, let me go to Mr. Mohammed Gambo. I think he's been up for quite a long time now. Mr. Gambo, are you there? Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. This is Mohammed Gambo. It's a pleasure actually joining this session. Just by way of introduction, with the Policy Research and Partnerships Unit at Shelter Africa, which is a Pan-African housing finance institution based in Nairobi. The presentation by the keynote speaker, and also your kind of overriding discussion in terms of the role of housing is key and primary in terms of where we need to see ourselves going forward. Coming from the African perspective, and also working in a Pan-African housing finance institution, which covers 45 African countries. So this discussion on housing, really coming from the housing finance perspective, is very, very key and important. For us as a DFI, we see this such discussion very, very important for us in terms of providing hands-on and practical solutions. One key area that I would really like us probably to have a discussion to rub minds from the professionals in the industry, from the academia, from the policymakers. It's that aspect of those that are at the lower bottom of the pyramid, most especially in Africa, more specifically sub-Saharan Africa, what innovative solutions do you have for them? Mortgage finance has been like the forefront of the discussion in terms of housing finance in Africa. We always try to see how we can be able to provide mortgage solutions across Africa, more specifically sub-Saharan Africa. But over the years, that has not really achieved much success. Mortgage penetration is low across most African countries. Probably if you take out some few countries in Southern Africa, probably South Africa, Namibia, but the rest of African countries, most especially sub-Saharan Africa, they have low mortgage penetration. So, and the focus is more on that. The majority of those at the lower income status are those that are not even qualified for a mortgage. They are the majority of the population. So what do you have for them? How do we be able to carry them along this journey of housing? Most especially now we're in the decade of action. We're already in 2022. In the next 7-8 years, we're talking of Agenda 2030, where SDG 11 is sustainable cities for all in Africa. And also Agenda 2063 of the African Union. Housing is a core mandate. But up till now, the discussion has been more on the formalized sector, mortgage. But the majority of those that are in need of those housing, they cannot even be able to access mortgage facilities. So how can we be able to attend to this challenge? Is it housing microfinance? Is it rental housing? Is it rent to own? The numbers are there showing that really, yes, there's a gradual uptick of mortgage finance, such as there's a creation of mortgage refinance institutions like in Kenya, recently in Nigeria, in West Africa, Francophone West Africa. There is gradual kind of uptake of mortgage, but still we have a long way to go. So it's like a question that I'm posing to the participants here. I myself, I'm presenting a paper in this session in the next few minutes, probably next 15-20 minutes. So that's an area that I really want us to really elucidate. And the answers that will come out from this discussion, or let me say deliberations, will really be useful for us at Shelter Africa, being a Pan-African housing finance institution with the core mandate of Housing for All for Africa. So looking forward to such engagement, and also having an idea from the United States perspective in such initiatives. Of course, the socioeconomic dynamics might be different, but the situation is quite same. But here in Sub-Saharan Africa, that's a reality. And we really need to walk the talk. We need to walk the talk. Now, the time for action is with us. The decade of action is with us. So we're looking forward to really join hands. We can't do it all alone as a finance institution. We have to collaborate with all partners from the public sector, private sector, civil society organizations to provide the solutions. So I'm looking forward to really such engagements going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. I think that was a very insightful contribution. The issue of housing finance, especially among people in the low income bracket, is one which is making it almost difficult to provide adequate and decent housing for people in the low income bracket. And Mohammed did spell it out correctly that yes, is the issue of finance, but mortgage finance, as it were, does not reach out to people at the end of this particular stream. Are there any solutions to that? Ms. Barunda? I think
apologies.
Okay. I thought we lost you there.
You did lose me for just a second. Would you mind repeating your question?
The question which Mohammed is putting across is to do with mortgage finance for people in the low income bracket. His argument being that it's always a challenge for people in the low income bracket to get mortgage finance. Some of them are not employed and therefore they don't qualify for such mortgage finance. So is there a way out to reach out to them so that they can access mortgage finance for housing?
Well, again, I'm not an expert in this area, and there are probably colleagues that are at some of our universities that are participating in the calls that would probably be better to answer that particular question. But we know that many people in the very low income brackets, while they may not be while they're underemployed perhaps or may not be employed, many times they really don't have the access to the education that they need in order to begin the process of building savings to own a home. They don't understand. Perhaps they're at the very low income levels. Perhaps no one in their family generationally has ever even owned a home. So this is also an area where the education process is very, very important. I don't know if anyone else has some thoughts on that, but the other area that I just wanted to quickly mention, he did indicate something along the lines of a rent to own, and I know here in the state of Maryland that is in some cases an option. It's not available for every homeowner, but certainly that is something that should be seriously looked at.
Thank you very much for that contribution. I think, colleagues, we have an issue here, an issue which we have to take with us as we deliberate on the issue of housing. And what is coming out very clearly here is that the issue of mortgage finance is one such factor which we need to address in our deliberations. Now, it will be interesting also to note that when it comes to housing among the low-income people, at the center of the production system is the issue of labor, is the issue of materials, which also Mr. Barunda did talk about. Now, when you look at most African countries' intervention measures, a number of innovative approaches were put in place to try to counter the negativities of some of these factors. And indeed, some of them have been included in policies, some of them have been implemented, but always it seems we are shortchanged when it comes to the linkage between policy and implementation. So many a time we do have all these policies which have clear visions, clear objectives, yet when we come to this stage where we are supposed to implement them, there are always challenges. And indeed, if you go through some of these policies, you'll find that the issue of finance always comes up, and there are always different routes which are put in place to try to overcome these challenges. So I think at the bottom of the line is that we need to come up with approaches, we need to come up with systems which will make it happen when it comes to implementation. And I would like to believe that with the experience we have around with us, those from government, from universities, we can still make this happen. Allow me to put on the spot here Prof. Lawrence Mashmola, who is a colleague and have got a lot of experience as far as housing is concerned. Prof, take us through some of these challenges which we are seeing from the European perspective, from the American perspective, and how we can actually try to solve them, putting in place that we also sort of face similar challenges. Prof, are you there? I think Ms. Mashmola is not there. Colleagues, we still have about 7 minutes before we move on to our different sessions. I just want us to conclude this particular discussion, which was tabled by our keynote speaker. Do we have any contributions? Do we have any comments which we can bring on board?
I think I can take, this is Professor Jordan of Morgan State University. One comment that I can make just around materials, I think in particular, is in regards to an example of an architect, Sam Mockbee at Auburn, Alabama, years ago, who developed the process and working with sustainable materials that you have access to on a relatively daily basis that he started to use. He began with one family and used that family as an example. He was able to get that subsidized, by the way, to get the housing built for a couple that had been living in a rundown shack for the most part that was barely livable. But he created an innovative project, an innovative idea using materials that were things like, it may sound offbeat, but glass from automobiles. He was using tires. He was using Adobe types of processes in this area. Now, granted, it was in a rural area, it wasn't in the urban setting. However, I think that being said, we have to be a little bolder and beginning to really look at what, as far as building materials go, how we can actually push those ideas a bit further, especially within, I would say, West Africa in particular. I'll just use that as an example, where if you look at the indigenous buildings from, prior to colonialism, they breathe much better. They're often much more comfortable than the modernist structures that we live in. But I think a lot of that technology is being tested from a lot of young architects today, and it is being tested in a lot of the universities as far as how that can begin to happen within urban settings. And yes, we have to look at codes. Yes, we have to look at the availability, but I do think we have to be a lot more innovative and creative as far as pushing this agenda. We have to get the construction industry on board with that as well to make that actually happen. So as far as cutting costs and being able to design and build for those of lower income, sometimes it's about looking a bit different than what we're used to seeing. And so I think that is a part of this equation. I don't have an answer for the mortgage aspects outside of the sort of, I guess, using the microloans as an example for the commerce that's been successful. How that translates into housing, I don't know. I'm not an expert in that area, but I do believe that it does take bold innovations to move this forward. And so that's what I'll end with right there.
Thank you very much, Prof. Coleman. I think that was very insightful. Colleagues, let me stop at this stage and allow the university to come on board. There is a video which we are supposed to watch before we go into our breakout rooms.
Welcome to UKZN, a multicultural environment where we are passionate about inspiring greatness in both our students and our staff through cutting-edge research, innovative teaching and learning, and meaningful community involvement. The university has had a proud and rich heritage of academic excellence since its formation in 2004, when two long-established South African institutions with over a century of learning between them, the University of Natal and the University of Durban-Westville, merged to create the largest contact university in sub-Saharan Africa. The Center for World University Rankings, which publishes the largest academic rankings of global universities, has placed UKZN in the top 4 best universities in South Africa and in the top 500 globally. We are honored to have Chief Justice Mogoeng as the University Chancellor. The leadership structure of the university is managed by Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Nana Poku, who is assisted by his executive leadership team. All the teaching, learning, research and academic functions of the university are overseen by a Senate that comprises the academic leadership of the university and ultimately a council of 30 members consisting of representatives of executive officers, employees of the institution, student representatives, alumni and community members. UKZN boasts 5 campuses based in 2 cities, Durban and Pietermaritzburg. There are 4 colleges spread over these 5 campuses. The College of Agriculture, Engineering and Science, the College of Health Sciences, the College of Humanities, and the College of Law and Management Studies. Each college is led by a Deputy Vice Chancellor and Head of College. This college model allows the streamlining of the academic sector to be more effective and responsive to the needs of our students. UKZN is one of 2 universities in Africa using a college-based model. UKZN has over 49,000 students enrolled in some 2,000 programs across the 4 colleges. Approximately 75% of these are undergraduate and the rest are postgraduate. The university enjoys a rich cultural diversity with 3,000 of its student population comprising international students from 82 countries. Our 4,200 staff members come from 50 different countries. The institutional values that guide our daily interactions include respect, excellence, accountability, client orientation, honesty, and trust. Known as REACHED, these operational values underpin how the university conducts all aspects of its business. Our transformation charter has been key in steering our university's identity and culture. At UKZN, transformation and excellence are closely paired, enabling us to meet the higher education, teaching and research needs of South Africa and achieve our vision as the premier university of African scholarship. We are a proud institution of higher learning, and it is our responsibility to push academic, cultural, and sports standards of excellence for the province and South Africa. Our passionate staff take this responsibility to heart as they embrace the UKZN spirit and ethos. UKZN's 5-year strategic plan, launched in 2017, outlines the institutional culture, goals, and enablers that will help us realize our full potential as South Africa's university of choice for the country's most talented students and scholars. By focusing on excellence in teaching and learning, high-impact societal and stakeholder community engagement, targeted internationalization, and excellent and high-impact research, innovation, and entrepreneurship, UKZN aims to contribute meaningfully to the future of South Africa and add real value to all its stakeholders.
Thank you for that video. Colleagues, that video for the University of KwaZulu-Natal just tells you who we are, what we believe in, and our vision. I will hand over now to Sam just to tell us about the logistics as far as this conference, symposium is concerned. I'm sure most of you have heard about Sam, how he was instrumental to bring together all these efforts to make sure that this symposium is a reality. I think for some of you, it's the first time you are meeting him virtually, and I'll ask him to give us an overview of what we expect ahead of us. Sam, go ahead.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I welcome everybody to the Pan-African Housing Conference. It's been a long way, it's been a long journey. but then I'm happy that the day is currently here. We're moving into the room session. We currently have 4 breakout rooms, which are going to run parallel. And the first breakout room will be looking at co-production of urban space. The co-production of urban space will be the first breakout room, and in that room we'll be having 4 presentations. Then the next room, and that room will be led by Professor Yanga. I hope Professor Yanga is in here, and she will be leading the space for that. And if you look at the chat section, you will see the link for the breakout rooms. So all you need to do as a participant is to click on the link that you are interested in. And for all presenters, just click on the room where you are located, and you're there in the room for your presentation. The second room will be looking at housing finance, and that room would be led by Professor Ernest Kalema. In that room, we'll be seeing another 4 or 5 presentations. I hope all the presenters are there. You can click on the room 2 link, and you'll be taken into that room. Thank you very much. The room 3 for the day is urban spatial policies. The room that will be dealing with urban spatial policies. And that room will be led by Professor Pauline Adebayo. I hope Professor Pauline Adebayo is on ground. You can just, if you're in that room as a presenter, you just click on the link to that room and you can have your presentation. The last but not the least room for the day is the room that deals with climate change, innovations, and technology in urban space. In that room will be led by Dr. Sitembiso Mieni. I hope he's on ground. I've seen his trail in the course of presentation. So for all the presenters at this time, we are breaking into the parallel session for the breakout rooms, and we'll commence the room presentations now. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for coming. I welcome you all.
Colleagues, the stage has been set. I think it's time for us to go away into our breakaway rooms. Thank you.